What if the root of your physical pain isn't just physical at all? What if your body has been whispering to you through your ailments this whole time? On this episode, I'm diving into metaphysics. I'll be introducing you potentially or reminding you of some of the pioneers who shaped this work. And then I'm going to give you some of the modern science that validates this whole thing. So, you ready? I'm your host, Amanda Smith, former aerospace engineer who worked on a bunch of NASA projects and programs, including Artemis, which is about to have humans on board for the first time. And it happens to be the last vehicle I worked on that program. I've turned to medical intuitive work, and I have a lot of clients who come to me with a core body issue, the root of what they're dealing with, and we use metaphysics to help them. So, what in the world is metaphysics? It's the study of what lies beyond the physical, especially through the mind-body connection. Does that sound like something that resonates with you? I've had a bunch of people on the Gutsy Chick podcast to tell me whether the chicken or the egg happened. Did you get the physical issue or did you get the mental issue and then vice versa happened? So let's give an example of this, okay? Say you broke your finger. Physical thing happened. Did your mind create the break? Or did the break happen and change the mind on how you're feeling? Obviously, pain is going to tell you how to feel. But if you've been listening to the Gutsy Chick podcast, you've found out that pain only exists in the brain. It doesn't actually exist where the pain is at. That's the brain sending the signal to your body to say, pay attention. And hopefully you are, because it wants you to. But pain only exists in the brain. Ugh! That one will mess with you. So the metaphysics is going to tell us that mind-body connection of why your finger broke or what you're supposed to learn from why your finger broke. Now, clear, cancel, erase. You're not breaking your finger, people. But I want you to think about this example as we go through this episode. A broken finger. Maybe a broken toe. Some of the foremost authorities on metaphysics I have been studying under, studying with, studying through. And if you listen to the episode with the rocket shaman, Simone was a firm believer in Louise Hay's work, where in Heal Your Body, my all-time favorite Louise Hay book, because it's got the spine and every single vertebrae on and what is wrong if a specific vertebrae hurts. That was my favorite part of that book because everybody seems to have spine issues. So in her book, she lists the issue. This could be a physical ailment. This could be an organ that isn't functioning properly, or it could be that you have a disease that you've been labeled with. Next to it, she shows the mental reason for the issue. Connecting these two was enough for me. I was on board. I'm like, yes, this resonates with me. I'm going to dig deeper. The third column in her book were the affirmations. And this is where Simone, the rocket shaman, was like, I'm all in. This is what I believe. And he used affirmations to heal himself from cancer. So did Louise Hay. That was what she was best known for, was reprogramming her brain through affirmations to believe that she was healthy. I have a harder time with that. I have a harder time with that, unfortunately. That sounds like the easiest thing to do, truly. But I have a hard time with that because I want facts and truth. And if I'm going to bullshit myself into believing that I'm healthy, I struggle with that. That's just the way that I operate. And a lot of my clients do too. So what do we do instead? We dig in. We do our own research. That's what I did. I took Louise Hay's information from Heal Your Body and I started digging through, is this true for my client? Is this true for me? Does this brain body connection match what she has in her book? And for me, 80% of the time it did. And if you do 80-20, if you believe in Pareto's law of 80-20, then that's good enough. The other 20% will take care of itself. So Louise Hay, she's the pioneer behind all of this. She was recognizing the patterns. She was figuring out the physical and mental connection. It was amazing. And along came Carolyn Meese. Carolyn Meese is all about intuition. She dove into energy and anatomy and spiritual power in healing. Prayer. Carolyn was someone who deeply believed in prayer. And in the last year, I have too. Then we have Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's a neuroscientist. He believes that the power of thought can change biology, and he has proven it over and over again. He has so many scientific research papers that are in journals that have been peer reviewed that people are going, holy crap, it's real. He is the current person to pay attention to when it comes to changing your body through your mind. And he's proving that the mind is the most powerful part. Now, the mind and the brain are together, but they're two different things. They're linked up, but they're not the same. The mind is what we believe. The mind is where emotions lie. The brain is where neurons fire and synapses are created, and we create our reality through the brain, and the mind interprets it. And then we have Bruce Lipton. Bruce is all about epigenetics. And if you've paid attention to, I've had 2 epigenetic coaches on, go back and listen to those episodes. I'm drawing a blank on what number and their names, but epigenetics is all about your environment influences how you feel, which influences the expression of your genes. That right there, also backed by science, that one's fascinating to me because you can change your genes based on your environment. And we have almost total control over our environment, who we surround ourselves with. That's probably one of my favorite pieces of the puzzle is the 5 people that you spend the most time with have the most influence on you. They have the most influence on the way you think. They have the most influence on the way you feel. They have the most influence on your environment. So science is starting to back all the metaphysics, and it's no longer woo-woo. It's now backed by science. And if you listen to the episode with Maria Yesperu, her and I talked at length about how science keeps catching up with the things that Indigenous people already know, and that several people who are diving deep into these studies already know. That might be you. So let's talk about this finger situation. So, in fact, I'm going to talk about my finger situation that I experienced, my thumb. Back in high school, playing softball, I broke my thumb. And the way that I did it was I was taking a grounder. I stuck my finger, my hand, my right hand, my throwing hand into the glove too soon. The ball hit the tip of my thumb and fractured it. Now, there's not a whole lot you can do for a thumb. Splinting it isn't an option. It's a thumb. We have to use this sucker all the time. That's why we're human. So, to play softball, what we ended up doing was putting a cast around it. And that cast had to have cushion around it in order for it to be safe for me to play. So it looked like I had a snow cone on my thumb. And I was a third baseman at the time. I had to be able to throw the ball across the field with a snow cone on my thumb. So it was a lot of extra weight. It was very interesting. But I broke my thumb. And that's the only time I've ever broken a digit. At this time in my life, I wasn't familiar with Louise Hay, other than she was made fun of, unfortunately, on Saturday Night Live. John Handy, if you remember back in the day, and John Handy sat down with Michael Jordan. Now, Michael Jordan believes in visualization, deep belief in visualization. So he was using visualization, which Joe Dispenza also does, to change his body, to change his mind, and to outperform every other basketball player on the planet. So John Handy, go look this up. I might link it in the show notes if I remember. John Handy was making fun of Louise Hay, who was all about affirmations with Michael Jordan. Very impressive. So that was my only exposure at the time to affirmations and metaphysics. If I could rewind the clock and go back and learn why the thumb on my right hand and the fracture that was on the outside backside mattered and what it told me, it would have changed how I healed. We went with the classic Western medicine version of how bones heal. And we went with 6 weeks. Well, softball season is like, I don't know, 10 to 12 weeks. So half the season I was playing third base with a snow cone on my hand and I couldn't bat. And it sucked because I couldn't handle the vibration through the thumb because thumb placement on the bat anyways. So if I could go back in time and teach myself that the thumb is all about willpower and the thumb on my right hand is all about future willpower. And the fact that the break was on the back side of my thumb and not the front side of my thumb, the inside of my palm versus the back side of my hand. The back side of my hand is all about community and the influence of future willpower on me. If it would have been on the inside, it would have been internal. It would have been self-focused willpower. And lo and behold, later in life, several things tested my willpower and almost broke me, which goes back to the fracture in the thumb. It wasn't a full break. It was a fracture. And that's what ended up happening to my willpower in my 20s, late 20s, early 30s. My willpower was fractured. And I had to learn how to mend it. And so that injury came back around and I ended up starting to have some weird thumb issues, particularly when it came to lifting weights. I would start to lock up in the hand and then I ended up with trigger finger, which the index finger. This is all about responsibility, pointing. So this whole thing played out again in another cycle that I got to deal with later in life. But knowing what I know now, going back and imagining, visualizing like Michael Jordan does, visualizing how I would change that scenario, that rewrites my story. There's a whole lot to unpack right there. So man, wouldn't it be nice to know all of these things about if your left knee, I've had surgery on my left knee. If my left knee shows up as an issue, what does that mean mentally? What do I need to look for potentially in the future or in the past to heal it faster? What can I learn from it? And then, of course, if you are a believer in Louise Hay, then you're going to go and do affirmations. If you're a believer in Joe Dispenza, you're going to go do meditation and visualization. If you're a believer in epigenetics, you're going to look at your environment and how that's playing out for you. Who do you maybe need to look at making space from or drawing in? Or what in your environment needs to be changed? Like, I'm looking at my desk right now going, it's a disaster. I should probably change that. Or you sink into prayer. And for me, lately, prayer is my answer. Giving it to a higher source, a higher spirit, a higher self, and saying, hey, here's what I'm dealing with. Let's move this along faster if it's in my highest good. And my prayers also go out when needed to a community. And I ask that community, pray for me. This is what I need prayer around. And when you're in a strong spiritual community, a strong religious potentially community, prayer can be instant. So, science is catching up. Science is catching up in neuroplasticity, rewiring your brain. Science is catching up in psycho-neuroimmunology. This is the mind-body immune system connection. There is a ton of new science out on this to heal the gut, to heal the mind. Some of the stuff that I absolutely love and have been studying for a long time, and I'm so thrilled that science is finally catching up. And epigenetics, which Bruce Lipton is one of the foremost people in this arena. There's also other people that I like to pay attention to besides the four I mentioned earlier. When it comes to epigenetics, we're also looking at Peter Levine, Gabor Mate. I don't know if I said his name right or not. I'm blanking right now on the woman that I also follow and truly believe she has a lock on an understanding of how to shift things. And then there's all the neuroscience that is out there. It's been exploding since 2020. We had time to go and study more during the pandemic, and a ton of science has come out since then. I'm still catching up on it. One of the people that I pay attention to, Z Health, the doctor, I can't remember his name right now. I wish I could, but I'm also paying very close attention to all of the studies he's paying attention to and the functional neuroscience that he's sharing. But these are people to really pay attention to or work with someone like me. Which brings me to my invitation. Joint issues were a part of my story. Gut issues have been a part of my story. Liver issues, neurological issues, and the list goes on. But, and, I should say, and every single client who has come to me has had a unique body whisper. If you're curious about what your migraines, gut issues, back pain, and so on might be trying to tell you, I've created a private podcast just for you. The link will be down in the show notes. You'll also hear If you're listening if you're listening to my podcast, you'll also hear about an invitation for that private podcast. It's audio only. I might stick it on YouTube in an unlisted area. We'll see, because I do record video and audio at the same time. But if this episode has intrigued you, if metaphysics is something that you're intrigued by, or neuroplasticity, epigenetics, neuroscience, neurorewiring, functional neuroscience, reach out. This is my jam. This is the stuff that I get on a deep, deep level. Notice how much I could tell you about your right thumb on the front and the back side. Now extrapolate that out to every part of your body. I dive into the hidden metaphysical connections behind common ailments people bring to me in that private podcast. And I give you clear direction on what to do next. That might look like coming and working with me if you have a multitude of issues, or it might be that you have exactly what you need to fix that one thing right now. So check that out. It's in the show notes. Bring your curiosity, bring your symptoms, and let's explore what your body is really trying to say. Until next time, stay gutsy. Hey, I just want to take a moment to talk to the women listening right now who are high-performing, strong-willed, self-competitive, and maybe a little too good at pushing through pain. You know who you are. You've built a life by going all in, whether it's your career, your sport, or your business. But lately, your body's been trying to get your attention, and not in a gentle way. It's screaming at you. If that's you, I created something for you. It's a private podcast called The Secrets of Body Whispering. And it's all about learning how to hear the subtle whispers your body is sending before they turn into full-blown screams and symptoms. I'm sharing the exact tools I use with my private one-to-one clients and group coaching clients to help them heal faster, move through chronic issues, and reconnect to the part of them that knows how to perform without burning out. So if you're ignoring the screams and you're ready to actually listen to what your body needs through the whispers, click the link in the show notes to get access. Yay! You made it to the end of the episode. Good job. Now, go share this with your friends. Go like, subscribe, leave me a review. Let me know that you like what's happening here on the Gutsy Chick podcast. And if you're a female high performer with mysterious chronic health condition, go check out the Gutsy Chick Quiz so you can find out what might be holding you back from healing. And if you want more on what I do with my clients and my blog and any podcasts that I've been a guest on, go to bodywhisperhealing.com. Thanks for listening.